Now you might think, because I'm slipping and sliding down this hill, I must be in the middle of goddamn nowhere. But the truth is, I'm in the middle of Kiev, in Ukraine. And I've got to tell you, my first impressions of this place are really good. But then again, I've come here in spring, which has got to be the best time for anyone's city. But I am in this beautiful, huge park, surrounded by wonderful nature and blossoms, and kids laughing and screaming because it is Orthodox Easter. No, right in the heart of Kiev. And my first impressions of this place, beautiful city, lovely people. I'm about to hop on the public transport here in Kiev. And like all former Soviet countries, it's pretty good. And I was a few hundred metres away and saw a train about to pull in. In Australia, you'd run to try and catch it because you've got a long wait for the next. But by the time I've walked the few hundred metres to the station, bought my train token, which is the equivalent of about 20 cents, and then walked up the stairs to get to the platform. The next train is just now pulling into the station. So we've got a lot to learn. I gotta tell you, Kiev really is a pretty city. Kiev down to Chisinau in Moldova. This is a train station. On a train, just crossing the border right now from Ukraine into Moldova. One of the great things about travelling is language. Trying to sort out what's going on. I'm plodding along in the train here from Ukraine down to Moldova. I just had quite a nice meal in the restaurant. Wasn't really sure what I'm getting because the cook offered me food and tried to explain what it was. Now, I can't complain that he couldn't speak English after all. He's the linguist. He speaks at least 3 fluently. He spoke Romanian, which is one of the languages of Moldova, Russian, and Ukrainian, which is all very reasonable for someone who's working on the train that goes from Moscow through Ukraine to Moldova. So I can't really complain that he doesn't speak English. But anyway, what turned up was a really nice soup and a broiled chicken that went down really well. These are the things that happen when you travel in a country of a language not your own and rely on the goodwill of the people around you. It's Friday afternoon in the middle of the hustling, bustling capital of Transnistria. Transnistria or something, I think it's called. Go on, find Transnistria on the map. I challenge you to do so. Transnistria is a throwback to the old Soviet days, a breakaway region of Moldova, probably the most forgotten country in Europe, where we have statues of Vladimir Ilyich still staring down upon the great majority of people hustling and bustling through Transnistria or whatever it's called. Welcome to Transnistria. So what is there to say about Transnistria? Well, I'm standing here in front of the memorial to the dead in the 1990 to 1992 war. What 1990 to 1992 war, I hear you ask? Good question. When the Soviet Union collapsed and Moldova sought its independence, there is the Dniester River that runs down the eastern side of Moldova, and the little sliver of land between the eastern bank of the Dniester River and the Ukraine is Russian speaking. Everything on the western side of the Dniester River is largely Romanian speaking. So you had the Russian-speaking people try to break away and stay part of Russia, even though Russia is a few hundred kilometres that way. didn't succeed in staying part of Russia, but Russia played its little game by providing weapons to them, and they've created this breakaway region that for the last decade has had a ceasefire in place, or a peace agreement of sorts in place, that doesn't give any recognition as a nation state. But we've had to cross the border, we've had to give our passports, we've had to do all of that sort of stuff. Can't get a visa for a country that doesn't exist. And no one seems to know what the long-term future is going to be. Whether Transnistria will ultimately be brought back in as part of Moldova or ultimately become independent, I don't know. Right now it's not an independent country, doesn't count on my list. But I'm here just in case one day it does. Not quite Andy's Burgers, Andy's Pizzas, branching out from South Melbourne. I'm in Odessa, Ukraine, said to be the hedonistic capital of the Balkans. It might be in summer, but I'm mid-season, so it's not right now. But you do have an enormous amount of wonderful architecture in this place. Beautiful city, founded by Catherine the Great to be a free port and a tax-free port to encourage people to come here, settle and trade. And they did all of that. This is the white meeting hall in Livadia Palace, and at that table, in those chairs, sat Roosevelt, Churchill and Stalin to divide up Europe post-World War II. This is the room in which Stalin and Roosevelt met without Churchill to decide on a common strategic approach towards getting Japan out of the war. And this was the Tsar's main reception study, because Livadia Palace was built by the Tsar. But this was also used by Roosevelt as his bedroom during the Yalta Conference. This is the courtyard of Livadia Palace, and that is where that famous shot of the three leaders was photographed. The Livadia Palace was originally built for the Romanovs, and the second story of the building is a museum to the Romanov family and the last Tsars before the Bolshevik revolutions. Bloody beautiful building, really light. I can see why they came here a lot. Ocean just down there. Really beautiful.